For a golf club in your bag that is extremely forgiving, extremely fast off the face, launches high, makes golf pretty much easy as it can ever be, then it is underneath this head cover. And in today's video I will show you why this type of club at least should be in every average golfer's golf bag. So today we're going to feature two golf clubs in this video. They are both from Ping. One is from the G440 lineup, the other is from the G430. They're both 7 woods, 21 degrees, they will have the same shaft. It's partly head-to-head, but really the focus is on the new G440 lineup. What makes this so special and why should you have one of these in your golf bag? Because for me, what you're about to see is an absolute no-brainer, and if you're in doubt in any way as to whether or not you should have a 7-wood, those doubts will be eradicated by the end of this video. So I've already started collecting some numbers, as you can see, pretty decent what I've got behind me there right on screen. But I want to talk first of all about the basic fundamentals of what the Ping G440 is as a product, and maybe also compared to last year's model. First of all, massive upgrade on every one of the Ping G440 lineup, and that is the head cover. Minor detail, but massively important. You spend a lot of money on these clubs. Ping failed in the last few years, in my opinion, with the quality of the head cover, so that's a tick in the box. Second thing is the way they look. From the crown, not a huge difference from previous models, but to me that is a very good thing because Ping have very much nailed it in terms of the shape and the profile and how shallow this sits behind the ball. Because I think it's kind of like they've got that happy medium between being big enough to give you an element of confidence and allows them to move the CG away back to help you. And then they've got this sort of shallow face. And that shallow face for me just sits really neatly behind the ball. Again, it's nothing different, it's something that Ping have done in the past, but they've continued it and it's a real positive. And again, those lines that outline the club face, the ball at address are hugely beneficial. Simple dot, avoid in the middle, white lines on the outside, and you know exactly where you're supposed to line this ball up. So aesthetically, really good. Everything about this club is sort of what you would be wanting. I feel I just shut that down, trying to force that one with the, yeah, absolutely I did. What a great start. Nice easy swing prior to this. Camera comes on and we go and try and force one, which I did, and forced because that's gone a good 10, 12 yards further than what I'd hit so far in terms of an average. So I'll hit another ball because that's fine. It's gone 203 yards with a 7-wood. It's gone with a fairly piercing ball flight as well, that launching fairly low. I'm hitting off the mat to start with. But what I'm looking for is something around the 190 to 200 yard carry, which hopefully that's 128 ball speed. Should have a little bit of a cut on it. Overdid it a bit and we've got that 200, and that's where this ball has been sitting at. Like I said, high 190s into that 200, and that's much more like the launch angle. Don't forget, we're off a tight lie on a mat, so effectively a fairway lie. Things you need to be aware of, conscious of. Nice spin number. Around 4,000 revs is what it's been hitting. It's a peak height of 113. I haven't got the descent angle on screen. I'll put that, we'll get that information at the end. But what you're looking for with this kind of club is something that launches high, doesn't get too spinny and doesn't launch too high, at least I don't want it to. And we're generating a really fast ball speed off a relatively sort of average club head speed. And that 200 yard carry is something that, again, when you compare it to an iron equivalent, is going to be very hard to achieve. Now there's other thing that I just want to mention. Let's see if we can get another ball out there. Again, 126 ball speed, 19 launch. I've definitely seemed to be pulling the ball down the left a tad, which is a bit disappointing because that felt good. Spin has remained the same, peak height the same. So we're seeing some consistency here around that 200 yard carry. The left is my swing issue. But the other thing I want to talk about is how well Ping have done in changing the sound and feel of these things. It's the biggest leap forward I've seen for quite some time. I often get comments that, well, that doesn't really matter, sound and feel is irrelevant. I don't believe that to be the case, certainly not for me. I was someone who didn't like the noise that came off previous Ping lineups. This has changed altogether. And we're much more in line really with what other clubs are doing. It's that balance between what seems to be a fast ball speed, or sounds like, so it's firing off there, but it's not an absolute gunshot wound. And I'm really loving the fact that if I could just get my own swing a little bit in order and see if we can get one pop down the middle. That felt again good, maybe slightly overdid it with the cut. Now we've got that one on the centre stripe, maybe slowed down a tad as well. Just a little bit more control. And again, that cuts me back into that sort of 190 carry distance, launching 20 degrees, peak height of 116, again, knocking around that 4,000 spin. The consistency out this thing is really, really good indeed. And for those of you concerned or love to sort of comment about its improvement between this and previous models, I also have the G430, which I'll collect a little bit of data on as well. And I'll see if I can identify what the difference is, if any, between the two. Right, I think we'll go there. It's the, and we will have a look at the comparison right now. That is the old head cover. So yeah, massive gains. Won't do anything in terms of performance, but you're spending your money. I think you should have someone half decent to cover that product. Big change visually underneath, at least. Anyway, so shelf appeal, they've tidied up the G440 and there's not as much going on. I, again, would prefer that. We've got, again, some visible weighting, and there is some technology differences that I'll put up on screen for you now. But essentially, when you look at these two at address, they've got a slightly larger profile, to my mind, on the G440, although that, again, might be just a bit of an aesthetic thing, trick in the eye, but to me it looks a slightly bigger profile. And that's because it seems to have been flattened out a bit, so that sort of shallow address position seems to be even flatter again, even shallower again. But like I said, both have that real good framing of the golf ball, which is what Ping do really well. And I was a massive fan of this G430 lineup, a G425 as well, for that matter. They just do these fairway woods so well. And I'm not expecting to see a huge difference between the two, if any at all. So we had a 124 ball speed, just got a 123. Yeah, that was a cutty swing. A little bit higher, a little bit spinnier, which impacted on the carry distance just a tad. That dropped off to 117, and a 183. Okay, what have we got? So we've got club head speed down on that one, so that's got to account for a lot. So let's see if we can get back up to that sort of into the 90s. 130 ball speed. Yeah. Okay, so a little tug down the left, just trying to get that extra club head speed, but just shows again that the ball speeds are there. 130. A little bit lower in the ball flight at 17.2 on a launch, and spinning just a little bit higher. But yes, we can certainly get up to that 200-yard carry that we achieve with the new product just by increasing club head speed alone. Let's try one more. Again, that's that weak cutty one. Yeah, not great. I'm going to get another one of them, because interestingly enough, every time I've not got it quite right, and we've again dropped to 190, this is what's up for debate. How much am I losing? That's by far the shortest ball I've hit all morning with both clubs. That's really good ball. 124. Yeah, just again, it's got that little pull down the left, which it doesn't feel like, but 193. Club head speed not as fast at the moment with this 7 wood. I don't know why, I've just slowed down a tad. And we're achieving sort of similar numbers. So nothing I've seen so far. For those of you who want to know the difference between this year's model and last. It's again seemed a nice swing, 127. And we got the right swing on it. That's a super set of numbers. So I know we've done a lot of reviews in recent weeks where people are getting A little bit opinionated on comparison between this year's and last year's model. What I always try to do is essentially all we're doing in a review is the performance of a new product, and we'll always do head-to-heads in the future months. But for this, I thought, well, I'll throw in the comparison right now, and you can see we ain't seeing major differences between this and last year's model, or this and the new model in this case. So I'll switch back over to the G440, we'll hit a few more balls, and then I'll try and see if this club should be making its way into your golf bag, or can you in fact pick up a bit of a bargain and grab yourself a G430 from the previous lineup. Right, as ever with these reviews, and it's data led, we try and keep things nice, simple and straightforward, so we'll jump straight into it. These are the numbers that we achieved with what was 9 shots with the G440. 197 carry, that was off an average club head speed of 89.5. I had it in my head we were swinging a bit faster than that, but that's where I got a little confused. Launch angle 17.8, peak height 104, spinning at just under 4,000 revs. So we've got a really good set of data there. And why is it really good? Well, because what I'm doing in my head, I'm comparing my sort of iron or hybrid equivalent option. So for me to carry around 200 yards, I probably can't get there with a 4-iron, to be honest with you. We're pushing into a 3-iron, and then one that's way too difficult for me to play. But the things that are going to change is that my launch angle is sort of going to drop considerably. My peak height will do as well. So it's a flatter ball flight, and I'm really going to struggle to get anywhere near that kind of carry distance. Then you move into hybrids. Hybrids are a real popular choice. And then we're into these realms of like, well, which is better for me? Which can I control better? Which head profile do I prefer? So really for me, it's hybrid or 7-wood right now is a real like interesting comparison. But whatever way you look at it, this is a real good set of numbers. Everything's relative to club head speed, and that's depending on what yours is compared to mine. So take this very much at face value. You have to try these yourself. But the thing I want to perhaps have a look at is this consistency that was produced from the G440. And it's this ball speed consistency first of all, and then you move into the sort of the launch consistency, that peak height and that spin number. And then ultimately, I suppose, the consistency in the carry distance. It's something that was very familiar, so I'm not going to look at exactly where, in fact, we can look at exactly where it was hitting in terms of impact location. So fairly decent, catching the ball out the middle. So we haven't measured forgiveness in my opinion there, because I'd like to see some strikes out of heel and toe, because that's what forgiveness is. But essentially relatively central, a little bit heely, then we're producing some decent numbers and good performance. I'm then just going to switch these out, because what I didn't do was change my tags when I switched up into the G430. So I'm going to have to highlight those few shots that we hit with them. And then we get this new sort of set of numbers. Wasn't off as great as an example, but essentially pretty similar. What was interesting for me was this bit. Club head speed was consistent as a comparison, so on average 89.1, and we achieved a 189 carry. So we're down on carry distance, not significantly. Launching the ball again, just a tad higher, but again very, very similar. Spinning a little bit more, and that ball speed again was, to be fair, really impressive. So, two things, I suppose, in summary. If you're in a G430 right now, then you don't need to buy a G440. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of videos I've done of late where I didn't feel that was necessarily for me to comment, because I assumed there'd be an amount of common sense to understand that. There is not a massive leap forward. The people who are buying a G440 are perhaps someone who's got a club that is 5 or 6 years old. I don't really want to have to say that in every single video I do. So, you know, just a little bit of common sense to apply so that my message doesn't become repetitive. So the G440 in itself, really, really good product, produced really, really good numbers. I think it was ultra consistent in those numbers as well. And more importantly, a 7-wood of any type is well worth putting in the bag. But Ping do fairway woods very, very well indeed. And this is another example of what they do. And if you go and buy yourself a G440, I can assure you, you will be very, very happy indeed with the outcome. That's me done. Give me your feedback and comments down below, and keep it sensible, and let's see if we can have a grown-up and adult conversation about the performance of the club that featured in this video, and not about technology of old and all the other rubbish that's being quoted right now. Let's just concentrate on this review, G440. It is an absolute banger of a golf club, and you will love it. I don't care what anybody says. Thanks for watching. See you soon.